Okay, this is like the first time I'm doing a video with a camera on in which I don't have like a sweater over it, which is kind of interesting, I suppose. But let's get straight into business. Okay, so I did say I was going to make a anti-Satsuki guide, but since Fang said they would look at the script, I have been procrastinating on that script like a motherfucker. So until I do that script and send it to Fang for a basic check, I will not make that video. So ideally, the plan is to do it right after Guild War is over. So I'll work on the script during the Guild War, during my full autos, and then after, I'll just send it to Fang, and as soon as he gives it a check over, I'll just talk and ramble about Satsuki for about 30 minutes. But until then, I decided to make the other video that I was planning on making for a while, which is a guide about what mid-level players do in Melty that ticks me off, and explaining why these habits are not good. But before I do that, just real quick, just to make sure you guys know, the last video, well, the video before my Guild War video, I made a video describing that I have a Patreon now, just a $3 tier, and if you want to support me making higher quality videos but with the same quality of information, so like better structured videos that are like well edited and stuff, like $20 would go to Sine, and then $10 would go to me. Like it's mostly to pay for Sine editing the video, right? And just a little small cut for me as well, because I'm not like exactly, I don't want to do it all for free, you know. Like if you need help for anything in Melty Blood related, you can always DM me and I'll give you the information for free. It's not like a Metafy thing. This is just for like quality YouTube content. If I need to like create a different channel for people to like better find the quality videos, I will do that, just to be clear. So it's just like the Patreon is just to make higher quality YouTube. So with that shilling out of the way, let's talk about the middle player habits that I see super often. Okay, so I've been playing Melty Blood for about 4 years at this point. I started in during the very beginning of COVID, so around March 2021 or 20, I forget. So I've been playing this game for a long time, and I fought against a lot of people, and I played in a lot of brackets. There are a lot of habits that I immediately see and notice that this player is not like extremely amazing or comfortable in the game. And I'm just going to explain why these habits occur, what the habits are, and how to like improve and better think about when you use them. Also, by the way, I don't know if you can hear the fan. You probably can't, but it's like 100 degrees outside in Maryland, so if you can't hear it, my bad. Okay, first habit I've already talked about at length, and it's round starts. Like, don't start the round in the corner. Don't start the round like super far away if you're playing versus Roa or Hime. I discussed this at length in a video about round starts that I made after watching MQZ versus Snooki. That video is on the channel, and link to it is in the description. I know I'm doing a little bit of video shilling, I guess, but I feel like if I'm going to ask for money to make these better, I should at least, you know, refer to older videos when they're up to date, and I still agree with stuff that's in them. So the first one is really just round start. That's like, again, I already made a whole ass video about it, like at length, like it's almost like 40 minutes long. So I'm going to give you 5 other tips that are not just like fix your round start positioning. And for the first one, I actually spent like about 10 to 15 minutes before this video just setting up dummies for it. And my very first tip is that a lot of people air shield and gold air throw incorrectly, and they don't understand what the point of these options are. Okay, so when it comes to air shield, a lot of people tend to do it in situations like this. Okay, so let's say that my opponent is jumping and I land a 5B as H-Kkohaku. I'm going to use H-Kkohaku versus C-Arc for all the examples today because I actually played C-Arc for enough time to know what her buttons do and to quickly set up dummies on. It's just so I could get this done sometime this century. And let's say Arc was not pressing a button on her way down. She was scouting with a J9 or J8 or whatever. It doesn't matter. And we are in this position. Okay, so let's assume that Arc used her double jump and she used her air dash already. A lot of people, like, if we... I need to touch. Yeah, it's 75 that I can touch and use. So the best way to do this would just to be like delay my air tech as close to the ground as possible, so I can have like my neutral frame that's invul on the ground. So if they try to meet me, I'm on the ground. If I'm feeling like they won't do it like properly, I can like low air tech DP or low tech air button if I think they're getting back a little bit. Yeah, so you want to do it like that. But what a lot of people do is like they do, yes, like Like, let's say they have no air options, they'll air check back and then 5D, or air check forward, jump D. And the reasons they do these is like kind of obvious. It's like they don't see, like they see that I'm not like hard chasing them, so they put themselves in a position and they're like, oh, I don't want to get hit by this jump back JB, which kind of smokes both of these options. Do I have a dummy for the jump back? Okay, let me create a dummy for it real quick. Because jump back B, in reaction to the air tech, kind of does not, like, it doesn't lose to this one even if I do it super early. Like, I still have mid screen and arc is in the corner, right? So, and in the air tech forward case, why is it not working? Oh man. Okay, and in the air tech forward case, they're like, oh, I put myself in a bad position, going to air shield and try to get myself out of it. But the thing with this is that, like, first off, on reaction, you can like just hit gold air throw. And assuming you're like not like super on point, you can just jump back again as well. Like, I still have all my air options to cancel from. So even if you like, most characters do not have a 4-frame air normal, so you can't even do the EX shield BS where it's like if you have a 4-frame air normal or air special, you can true punish them, right? So like air shield in this position is not good. Like if you're using air shield, like the best place to use air shield is generally if someone is over committing on like guard breaking you, and like if you know the guard break is happening, like let's say arc blocked my, we're gonna set back to a safe that doesn't have anything on it. Like let's say arc blocked this JC really low. Like, yeah, and let's say I decided to air unblockable with 5B because I wasn't clear if she would jump over or not, if she would clear the 5A. So in this situation, okay, I could time this jump. In this situation, like air shield, if you have a lot of space and you don't have a double jump, if you don't have anything to force it with, then you would present air shield as a last resort, understanding that if your opponent basically air shield or delayed so they're air unblockable, you're going to get counter hit, right? So that's ideally when you use air shield, because you can't air block this normal. So air shielding it makes, you know, I mean, it's a gamble that you can take in order to make your opponent like pause a little bit on their next air unblockable attempt. But most people don't use it as that, and they use it like they air tech themselves into a bad situation, and then they try to air shield their way to get out of it. But as you can see on the tool on the bottom, as soon as I hit the ground from an air shield, I have about 10 or so frames in which I'm in counter hit recovery. So you don't want to be air shielding like that. And another option that I was talking about at the beginning is air throw. Like gold air throw is a really powerful tool because its purpose is like twofold. The first purpose of gold air throw is to stop defensive jump backs. Like I can't accept the dummy to jump back without like some nonsense. So like if my opponent is jumping 9 in neutral and scouting, and if I catch on to their rhythm, I can like I could just super jump at them and gold air throw and get a full combo, because you can't, you know, block gold air throw, right? And the idea is that if someone's playing really passive, you can gold air throw them into a full combo, and maybe your character can get Oki as well. Like H-Kkohaku gold air throw is like amazing in regards to damage and Oki, so that's not like the typical situation off of most characters gold air throw. But like the idea is like there, right? So like if you catch an opponent who's like really passive with a jump 7, like a really common thing if you watch my sets versus Alf is that he catches me jump backing with J7 and he like super jumps into gold air throw that. So that's like one of the big purposes of gold air throw. Another purpose of gold air throw is as a defensive tool. I have a dummy set. Like if I try to chase this back tech, I think 3 is the correct dummy for this situation. If I try to like over chase this tech, if I see the shield, like if I try to meet him, like there's no real threat to shield here. Like they're what? Gonna J-aim me like 3 meters above the ground? Like if you see the frame meter, I'm like almost even, and I can like slightly delay it and then counter hit them. So what's really powerful in this situation is, I believe it's on 4? Is it 5? No. 6? Did I accidentally F up my dummy? I probably did. No, I did. So if I'm chasing like super hard, I can air tech back into gold air throw. Like I did this a lot. Like I didn't record these sets, so I kind of wish I did, because I'd have like really frequent examples of me doing this to other top players. Because a lot of top players, like, they know that I'm like not generally a good air techer, but I've been watching my play and trying to fix this. So I actually caught into it relatively quick that if someone is chasing you like super hard for your air tech, to like meter your air tech, if they're doing shit like that, you can just air tech back and gold air throw them, and your gold air throw is invulnerable, so they can't meaty this. There's like no counterplay other than me being too low for the air throw. Like you can see it, my JB meaty attempt is getting invuln through. Like you can even see it on the thing on the bottom. Like you're invuln for 4 frames after you air tech back, so you can use those frames in order to get a gold air throw out. So if people are trying to cover your if they're trying too hard to fish for your landing, you can just not fish for your landing, fish for your air tech. You can just gold air throw them and get a full combo. Of course, there are situations like this where, like, versus Hideki, it's not as strong because she has JB, so she doesn't have to commit as hard. She also has stuff like 5B and 2C, so she doesn't have to commit as hard as characters like Tono or Rug, or well, not Rug, I guess, but Rug, not Rug. Tono, Akia, Arc, those characters all commit more if they're trying to stop you from teching stupidly. So that's just a very strong option to use gold air throw. But generally, how I see gold air throw being used is just as the round start gamble option, which is obviously not very strong. There is a point where you should be presenting it on round start, but like most people are not at that point in their play where they should be like hyper optimizing their round starts for like small little games like that are like also just super likely to just become a bad habit. Like a lot of people do like fucking bullshit gold air throws around start, or they do like, yeah, it's just like a lot of people do not use gold air throw or air shield correctly. There is one more use to gold air throw that I almost forgot to mention because I forgot to put it on my document, but I'm going to put it in the video. So if you get a person air blocking with JA, and this is one of the reasons that JA scouting is so good, you can actually true block string them into gold air throw, because in this game, air blocking does not give you any throw protection. So if you do something like this, do I have to like be landing on her as she's rising? I forget. Yeah, that's a true setup into air throw. Of course, like doing it properly, I forgot how to do it from like a neutral jump, and you do have to like lab out how your character does it. Like some characters can do like a B, C, A, or B, A, or C, A into this setup. So you gotta lab it for a character, and it's kind of wonky, but it's important to know how to do like air check throws so that you can, because otherwise the opponent can gamble back with their own gold air throw. So that's just the third purpose of gold air throw. So now that I've talked about how to use gold air throw and air shield, I actually wanted to do a whole video on air shielding and air throwing and just like pulling up concepts and showing people doing them incorrectly. But this is just like a small video where I describe things that people do wrong frequently enough to actually tilt me. Okay, so another issue that people have with their play is that they do too much on wake up. And to just demonstrate this, I'm just going to quickly do like an air throw combo. And as a character that gets Oki literally every single knockdown, I see this a lot, and I get to punish it a lot more than your average multiplayer player. So during this situation, the strongest thing you could do is block, because I am so plus. I am literally plus 32. I can like literally not do anything like this and then still be in time to like punish you from pressing a button, right? But a lot of people see that I'm plus and they do shit like this. I'm gonna just try one of these dummies I don't need. They will gamble low shield. They'll gamble raw bunker. I did it wrong. Gamble raw bunker. I didn't even do that right. They will gamble DP. They will gamble spot dodge. They will gamble backdash. and they will just gamble EX reversal or some bullshit like this. Like, these are all strong options, but the thing is, doing them on wake up is much weaker than doing them during the middle of a block string. Because on wake up, like if I pull up that dummy doing the EX236C as an example, and I do my media correctly, I can quite literally react to the... Okay, yeah. I can quite literally react to the super flash and punish like that. Yeah, I'm like reacting to the super flash. In fact, I reacted so early, I did it too late. And like on wake up, there's usually a lot of ways to option select and cover a whole swath of options. For example, 2A5 DOS covers both mashing, blocking, and DPing, and only loses to hard bunker. Raw bunker loses to F moon and H moon shield counter OSing. No, it doesn't. It loses to people who are just holding up, expecting like a shield counter or for you to block. Like, but then that loses to people who are like, if you just hold up or something and they hit you raw, then I guess you win that situation. But like, you have to trade a little bit of health for that, and you might not have the health. But the point is, generally on wake up, it's a lot easier to cover more of your defensive options than in the middle of a block string. So if I just set this crouch and we set the dummy to all block, it's already on all block. I'm just gonna okay. So if I set the dummy to all block, and to do that 236C at the end of a block string that's like slightly minus, you're gonna see that I have a lot less options to like beat it outside of like just being passive, which is the point, right? You want to force these sort of situations where your opponent has to think. I think I have to set a delay by 1 frame, normal to delay 1 frame. Yeah, that should be fine. So then I can just meaty. Well, yeah, see, I tried to do a 2B, 2A into a delay 5C setup, and I just got DP'd out. Now, versus a real person, they're not going to be able to crank 2-2B out like the bot is. But the point is, it's a lot easier to beat the DP on wake up with a 2A5 DOS than it is to beat the DP when I'm only +0 and I don't have time to set up the OS. Like, I have to do something like, yeah, I can't even do like hard 5B in order to beat the, that was a weird thing, no blood. Yeah, so I can't do like a lot of basic block strings, but you'd have to, of course, hard call out the DP. But the point is, the DP is a lot more effective when I'm less plus, and I'm going to be at my most plus when you're waking up, generally. And this is like, of course, H-Kkohaku is kind of privileged in this regard. A lot of characters have air throws that are not as plus, so it might be more beneficial to gamble like that versus them. For example, if C-Tono is air throwing you from over here, he's barely plus at all. So you might be able to get away with doing like raw bunker or shield versus him then. But versus characters like Kohaku, and in situations in which your opponent's like super plus, like they got a 2C knockdown, you need to be much more willing to just block it out. Like, of course, this isn't saying like you should never ever DP even when your opponent's like Giga plus, but you need to understand that you're taking a worse gamble in those situations, and not just like, there are a lot of people who are like relatively good at Melty Blood that do like, they just DP or shield every single fucking wake up, and they'll do it on their like -40 or something, and it's like, dude, like sometimes they'll even do that shit on like safe jumps, and it's like, man, this person is not paying attention to game state at all. Because like it makes sense to DP or to present those sort of belligerent options when, again, when the opponent is less plus, so in the middle of a block string generally, or they're trying to reset with something. But if you're doing it on wake up all the time, like, again, it's a lot easier to cover all your options on wake up. Why do you think there's so many like bullshit Okis setups in this game? So number 2, don't do too much on wake up. Like, it's good to just like, most of your wake up should be spent blocking. Now on the other end, we now have people who are too passive on defense for number 3. Okay, there are a lot of people in this game who don't like super duper gamble on wake up, and they'll gamble smartly, or they'll decide, or they'll make good decision making when they're gambling to when they're doing like their wake up DPs. But when it comes to like block strings, this is like my block strings versus these people. Like I am overextending by a fair bit, like really hard. Like I'm doing like 2A into 2C charge, 5B charges after 5B, 5A. Like these are people who are like omega passive, and my character gets to blow that up a lot hard with throw, right? But not every single character gets to blow that up as cleanly as my character. But still, a lot of people are like super duper passive on defense in spots where they really shouldn't be. Like for example, after Hideki does this, after she does the 5C feint, she is +0. A really strong option in this situation, unless she's doing the 5C feint from over here, is I'm going to set the dummy to just hold up after they see the 5C feint. Okay? And there's not even going to be a delay. It's just going to see 5C feint, hold up. I need to not do it from there. I should probably... Oh. Yeah. She, 1, 2... I think I can overwrite 1. Yeah, 1's not important. And... yeah, and I try to dash 5A out of range. My 5B works, but that doesn't work if they crouch, right? If I turn this off for a second... yeah, 5B whiffs at this range. And only hits if I use an A normal and I don't delay. So after you see 236C after 5C, you are +0 and you get a pretty decent spot to gamble, unless I am like doing it like dash 5C. Then it's not as easy to gamble, because even if you jump, I will be able to tag you with a lot of BS like 2B, 5B, or this, which is like the super duper hard call out of people who are jumping after 5C. But a lot of people don't even get to that stage. A lot of people, they will see me do 5C feint and they will just hold down back and they will never ever guess. Or they'll do something like they'll see 5C feint, and instead of presenting jump, they will present something like 2A, like my brother in Christ, I am nowhere in range for your 2A to hit me. Like, most options will like beat this 2A. Wow, that R2A is big, so my 5C does not frame trap it as normally. But most other options, I guess if I have to delay, like throw works if I do it like delayed. If I expect you to dash block or something. Okay, so I have to delay in order to beat her mash. But like 2A here is like kind of banking on me like immediately doing a dash in. And it loses to a slightly delayed dash in. Okay, if I just delay it by 2 frames and it doesn't yeah, it doesn't hit me after. And it also loses really hard to the 236C. So the point is, a lot of people on gaps or points where they can like relatively freely like move out of the corner, like you don't have to like jump always, even though jumping is super strong in this game. You can just do something like walk forward. That's a really strong defensive option that's generally difficult to punish. Like if in this situation, if Ark wanted to do like a small walk forward and see what I'm doing and try to like force a situation, you could do that. But a lot of people just see stuff like this. Like, of course, with Hideki, it's a little different because Hideki always has the option to see, and that always like at the back of the player's mind. But again, I'm pretty sure jump just beats that in this situation. Jump. Yeah, so this is like an actual half decent gambling point on Hideku's offense that I'm just showing here to display that a lot of people don't like consider this sort of stuff when they're blocking. And to be fair, it's hard to know these sort of like minute details that's easy to get lost in the moment or in a high octane game. Like you're just going to forget sometimes. So it's not like you should always be gambling on these points, and there's nothing wrong with blocking a little bit more than you should. Especially if you're feeling overwhelmed, there's nothing wrong in just trying to take a deep breath and just block out the offense, of course. But of course, you don't want to be giving people free redashes. Like, there are some characters that really should not be redashing you, like, very frequently or at all. Kohaku is one of them because her redash is really bad. Another character you should not be letting to freely reset you is characters like Mech. Like, Satsuki is also a character with a relatively bad redash that you probably should be careful to not let her reset you because her pressure is not all that as strong as her Oki, right? Generally. There are a lot of characters in this game which, if you let them freely reset you a bunch and you don't present jump or like just jump 9 or J8, J9 or stuff like that, if you don't present that stuff on defense, you're going to have a really bad time because they're just going to frequently do fake pressure again and again until they run up throw you and you're back in the blender. So that's number 3, which is doing too little on pressure. So it's not like, there's nothing wrong with doing too little on wake up because that's the most volatile way to gamble. But there is something wrong with being too passive on your block string offense. You need to at least make your opponent a little annoyed to run 2A staggers versus you. And maybe I could make like a whole video on dissecting how you should like present and flab block string offense. I mean, not offense, I guess, but defense in this case. But this video is almost 30 minutes long and I'm only halfway through. So let's go on to the next thing that I feel like people have problems dealing with. Man, I've been talking over myself and messing up my words this entire video. I hope the basic ideas are still getting through though. And the next issue that I see a lot in mid-level players that is relatively easy to blow up is people who do not watch their air options and air tech hype. This is sort of in the same ballpark as the whole air shielding and air throwing incorrectly and not presenting them properly as defensive options. But let's showcase this good old zombie example. If you don't have, actually, I don't even need to set a dummy. I don't think I can just say it. Yeah, okay. And I can just set the dummy to air tech back. Yeah. If you don't have your air dash or your double jump, most importantly in this situation, and you air tech back here, a really common thing versus mid and high level, not mid. Oh, I said it right the first time. See, I've been talking incorrectly the whole day. Versus mid and low level players, a really common thing that happens is this, or they neutral air tech, and this situation repeats, and we just neutral instead. This is more common than you'd think. Like, this is like really embarrassing, and when people are doing it, it's usually a sign that they want you to like fucking watch what you're doing when you're air teching, because it means you're not paying attention. Like, even this air tech, this immediate neutral air tech is too high, because this is like a free like 3k damage being tapped on that really did not need to be taken and could have been easily avoided by just slightly delaying the air tech. Like, this situation is obviously just an example. I could point you out a lot of times versus, like, I'm not gonna say names, but versus mid-level players, which they will air tech like relatively poorly, and I just get to chunk on like almost a 3/4 of their health because they're not paying attention to how they're air teching. So that's just like, that one's not as like in-depth as the first, second, or I guess the third ones, but like, just example I just wanted to showcase real quickly on people who are not paying enough attention to how they're air teching. Like, you should always know exactly what air options you have left, with the exception of air dash. It's really easy to forget that when you dash on the ground, if you get hit out of dash, you actually lose your dash in the air as well. And if you do like a dash 5A, like that, you are locked. If you get hit or counter hit during any of that, you lose your air dash as well. Like, if I was to launch, I would not have air dash if I would dash 5A and got hit and air checked. So that's relatively, like, that happens relatively frequently. So that's not like a huge deal. Although ideally you want to pay more attention to that as you get better and better. But not being aware if you have your double jump or your air dash in more normal situations is a really common mistake that I see when it happens to air tech. Like, you shouldn't really be air teching back or forward if you don't have a double jump, unless you're doing that thing earlier, which I said, like, you air tech back in order to gold air throw someone who's over chasing. Yeah. If someone's chasing your air techs way too hard and not very safely, you air tech back into gold air throw. But other than that, you should always be mindful of what air options you have left, and you shouldn't be air checking super high up unless you have like a double jump or air dash to mix your movement with. God, this video is so ass, but I can't record it. I'm hearing myself trip over my words super frequently. I want to re-record this, but I quite literally do not have the time, because in like an hour everyone gets home, and the hour after that I have Grand Blue Guild Wars to do, so I can't. This video is going to be garbage. So sorry, but hey, at least it is a melty video, because the last one was like 2 weeks ago, I think. But we're almost done. Okay, so first was round starts, second was air shielding and air throwing incorrectly, third is doing too much on wake up. Fourth is air teching high when you have no air options. Fifth one was doing too little on block string defense, as opposed to doing too much on off or wake up. And the very last one I have, damn, I could have sworn I had a sixth one. Yeah, okay. Speaking of air techs, I actually forgot. The best way to chase air techs is something I'm going to quickly discuss for you for like 3 seconds. I mean, JG has like a whole 20-minute guide on doing this properly, but a lot of people, they chase air techs the wrong way. So the last part was just over chasing air techs. Like, you do need to be aware of your opponent being able to air tech back, air tech forward, and neutral air tech really low to the ground. So you need to understand what your opponent can do and what your opponent has left outside of those options. A lot of people, when they chase air techs, do not take into account if their opponent has their double jump, their air dash, how many air dashes, how many jumps do they have, yada yada yada, and it's a whole bunch of bullshit. But a lot of people get into really juicy situations that they aren't ready to capitalize on because they're not paying enough attention to how many air options the opponent has left. So I'm going to quickly set up a situation. Okay, I'm going to quickly set it up. I'm going to forward. Oh man, my arc dummies were actually like decent defensive shit that I wanted to keep, but like I'm just going to do this, and yep, and we're gonna say this is the slot. Okay, so as Kohaku here, my opponent used all of their air options, and I hit them, and they're going to air tech. I don't need the dummy anymore. I can just okay. So this means I have quite a few options. First, I could, if I notice it fast enough, I could like just try to combo after the JB, right? I'm probably not going to do that because I'm expecting my opponent to block since, you know, the air dash, but sometimes you just don't block, you know? Gotta take the good with the bad. So I'm going to land on the ground. Like, in this situation, Kohaku should always be buffering air dash underneath the JB, but let's say she doesn't for once. In this situation, it's actually extremely strong to run under arc and force her to face me the wrong way. Assuming this was not C Arc, who has the notorious cross-up Sonic that hits cross-up, being behind your opponent in the air while you are on the ground is generally the strongest way to anti-air any opponent. Most characters do not have cross-ups, and those that do still do not prefer being like crossed up like this. Like versus Arc, if I tried to do like cross under JA like this, I would actually get counter hit by Sonic. But I could do a cross under 2A, which would actually low profile the back hit of Sonic, because the back hit of Sonic is slightly elevated. That's how a lot of cross-ups in this game are designed, mind you. Like, a lot of the cross-ups in this game are generally like slightly above the character model, like behind them. So like it hits deeper on the front than it does on the back. There are exceptions like Narrow and Latin, but generally you like Kohaku, like for example H-Kkohaku JC, it hits deeper on the front than it does in the back. Not that it hits very deep at all, but like that's the point. So like in some characters might be able to like dash under 2A and get like a full air combo. And if they decide to press a button, and if they don't press it like super early to beat the 2A, they just get counter hit and you get a full air combo, right? So that's one way to like, in this situation, which I noticed that my opponent used all their air options, right? I could also just like cover forward air tech. Like if I set the dummy to air tech forward, I just want to walk in a position in which if I see air tech forward, I can jump JB it. This is a like Kohaku exclusive option, but a lot of characters can do something similar, but like they have to commit slightly more. Like for example, I'm going to use JC in this situation. In this situation, if I slightly delay my JC, I can actually put my opponent in like a really cruddy situation. I don't think I can like gold air throw them. Like maybe you could do something funny like gold air throw, but I don't think you could do that. But generally, like you see something like that, like I'm in a position on the ground where they air tech forward, I can react. Like I'm literally doing this on reaction and getting them with the back hit of JC. Or if they air tech forward, I can just like I can like react to it like a random one, cover in a random direction. Like if I see him air tech forward, I can like immediately jump C. If they air tech neutral, I can like relatively easily. Like I need to not jump, but I need to position myself on the ground to cover their options. Like my Hideki has 2B as a crash button, so if she neutral techs and I'm scared of like a crash button, like walking on the ground to like get into a better position, and then immediately presenting the correct option. Like this is hard, and I'm doing it in training mode, but it's like the best way to cover air techs if your opponent uses all their air options. If they have air dash left, it's still relatively easy to cover their air tech, because generally, if they are facing you, air dash will most likely be used to mix up their timing on when they attack. Because if they air dash and they don't press a button, they get that 9 frames of landing lag, right? So they're going to air dash and press a button. So if they air dash at you and press a button, you should be able to stuff that preemptively. If they air dash away and press a button, you want to be able to pin that, generally. These are slightly more complex topics than the ones I was talking about earlier. And maybe this video will just fly over people's heads and I'll have to redo it on like a day when I'm not super duper busy with other games, with responsibilities in other games. But this is just a video I really wanted to make for a while. I figured I should make it now while I have a chance. And that's it. This video probably is going to get like a fucking update eventually, where I just remake it with a full script and better dummies and better guides. But like, I think this is good enough for now. So see you guys later. I'll actually make my Grand Blue update video in like an hour and a half where I talk about day one. Day one kind of sucked, but day one always sucks in Guild Wars. So see you guys later afternoon if you watch Grand Blue fantasy shit, and if you don't, see you at the end of the week, probably on like Saturday or something. See ya.